Title: My daughter slept with her sister's husband, now she wants a wedding and my blessing. Chapter 1: The Call That Shattered Christmas. The first week of December had always been special in our family. Lights strung across the porch, stockings hung early, and laughter around the table. As a mother of 4 grown children, our Christmas traditions were sacred. I had just finished confirming the final details when I called my daughter Penny to ask about their travel plans. But something was off. Her voice cracked. She wasn't coming. When I asked why, she said simply, "We've separated. He cheated." My heart stopped. I told her, "That's all the more reason to come home. Let your family be your comfort." And then, after a long pause, she told me who the other woman was. Sally. Her sister. They had been seeing each other for 2 years, behind Penny's back. All those months I thought Sally was glowing because of a new relationship, and it was this? I didn't say another word. I couldn't. I hung up the phone and just sat in silence, staring at the tree I had decorated with so much joy. And then I blocked Sally. I uninvited her from Christmas, and for the first time in my life, I questioned whether love for a child could ever truly be unconditional. But the fallout was only just beginning. Chapter 2: Family Doesn't Do This to Family. The house was quiet that night, but my mind screamed. I sat at the kitchen table, wrapping presents I no longer wanted to give. How do you wrap joy when your family has been split in half? Penny arrived the next day, bags under her eyes, hands shaking as she hugged me. We didn't talk much. We didn't need to. Pain has a way of filling the silence. My husband, bless him, didn't say a word about Sally. Just helped Penny bring her things in, set up the spare room, and made her tea like it was the most normal thing in the world. But nothing about this was normal. My sister called. She told me I was overreacting, that I couldn't just remove one daughter from the family. She said it wasn't my business, that this was between the girls. I told her that was absolute nonsense. When one daughter destroys another, it becomes my business. It becomes family business. And yet, her words haunted me. Was I wrong to block Sally? To uninvite her? Had I gone too far? But then I remembered the pain in Penny's eyes. The way her body physically crumpled when she said her sister had betrayed her. No mother with any heart could watch one daughter crush the other and still call it none of her business. Then Sally texted my husband. Not me. Said she didn't understand why I was being so cruel. That love is messy and people don't choose who they fall for. She wanted to explain, to come for Christmas. To be forgiven. She didn't understand. She never even said sorry. And that's when I knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Chapter 3: A Letter She'll Never Forget. Christmas came, but the warmth didn't. The decorations felt hollow and the gifts felt like obligations. Penny tried her best. She smiled, she helped cook, even played a board game or two, but she was only half there. The other half of her was still shattered, still trying to understand how her own sister could look her in the eyes for years and lie. It hurt me too. Not just because of what happened, but because I had to be the one to hold everything together while it was all falling apart. So I wrote Sally a letter. I didn't want to scream. I didn't want to cry. I wanted her to read my disappointment, to feel the weight of what she'd done. I told her I was disgusted, that what she did wasn't just betrayal, it was cruelty. I told her she had forfeited her place in family gatherings as long as Penny was still bleeding from the wound she left behind. And I told her something else, that pretending to take no side is taking a side. That her silence, her defiance, her excuses, those were all choices. She had already uninvited herself the moment she chose someone else's husband, her sister's husband, over her own family. When my husband gave her the letter, she didn't even flinch. She showed up while I was out shopping, knocked on the door like everything was fine. He told her she wasn't welcome, that we needed time, that we were not celebrating the man she had chosen, and we certainly were not pretending nothing happened. She said we'd have to get over it someday, like it was a broken glass, not a broken family. That night, as we cleared the dishes, Penny asked me, "Do you think she'll ever understand?" I didn't have an answer. I just held her hand and wondered if some wounds ever stopped bleeding. Chapter 4: The Silence After the Storm. Weeks passed. The tree came down, the lights boxed away. But the silence stayed. Penny was still with us, working remotely from the dining room table. She smiled more now, smiles that almost reached her eyes. Sometimes she'd hum while making tea. Little signs that the weight was lifting, even if just slightly. Her mother-in-law, Jane, came by one afternoon. A surprise visit, arms full of Penny's favorite mint hot chocolate and cinnamon candles. She hugged my daughter like she was her own flesh and blood. And in a way she was. They had leaned on each other during the fallout, Two women grieving the same betrayal from different angles. Jane cried in our kitchen. She said she felt responsible. That maybe she had missed signs. That maybe she should have raised her son better. And I understood that guilt. Because I'd asked myself the same questions 1,000 times. Where had I gone wrong? What didn't I see? We were mothers who had done our best. But our children had made their own choices. And those choices had hurt people we loved. I watched Penny and Jane laugh softly later that evening, sipping cocoa by the fireplace, like survivors of the same shipwreck trying to build a raft from the wreckage. It warmed my heart. But it also made Sally's absence louder. Because while Penny was rebuilding, Sally was still living in the ashes, choosing to stay with the man who tore our family apart. And then came the moment that sealed it. Michael, yes him, asked my husband for permission to marry Sally. I couldn't believe the audacity. He betrayed his wife, shattered her world, and now wanted a blessing from the family he had destroyed. We didn't say a word to him. We didn't have to. Silence can be louder than any scream. But what shattered me most was realizing that Sally expected our support. Like nothing had happened. Like the wounds had healed themselves in the quiet. They hadn't. They were still bleeding. Chapter 5. A House with Empty Chairs. The next Christmas came and went. Penny was still living with us then. She had begun seeing someone new, a kind soul who made her laugh again, who opened doors and asked about her day and made her believe that love didn't have to destroy. I watched them from the kitchen window once, laughing on the porch in the snow, sharing a blanket and a bag of roasted chestnuts. Penny's eyes were full again. Not just of tears but of hope. But we didn't host that Christmas. I couldn't. Not with everything still so raw. So we packed our bags and stayed with my eldest son and his wife. Their newborn had just arrived, and in the early mornings while I cradled that little boy, I felt peace I hadn't felt in months. Sally and Michael weren't invited. Again. And I meant it when I said they wouldn't be welcome while Penny still lived with us. I had written that into the letter, and I stood by it. But then, life had other plans. 9 months ago my husband went for a walk and never came back. He slipped, hit his head and lay in the cold until someone finally found him. It was sudden, brutal, final. And just like that, the man who had stood beside me through every storm was gone. I had grieved before. I'd lost family, friends. But nothing had ever felt like this. This was a silence that clung to everything. The empty chair at the table. The slippers he used to leave by the door. The way my toothbrush leaned against his in the holder. Now it leaned alone. I still cooked meals out of habit. Still muttered jokes to the air, forgetting for a moment that no one would laugh. There was no reprieve. No forgetting. Just echoes of him in every corner of the home we built together. And in the middle of that grief, Sally reached out again. Not to apologize. But to ask for understanding. For support. For money even. And I couldn't feel anything but numb. Because I had already lost one person I loved more than life. And another had chosen to make herself a stranger. Chapter 6. Tea kettles and forgiveness. Time didn't heal. It reshaped. I moved in with my eldest son's family earlier this year. Their home was louder than mine had ever been, cluttered with toys, half-folded laundry, and endless episodes of Bluey. But it gave me purpose. I had hands to hold, little feet to chase, and meals to prepare for people who appreciated them. Still, something in me ached. Not just for my husband, but for the woman I was before the betrayal. Before the grief. Before my daughters stopped being sisters. Then, one quiet morning at the leisure center, I ran into someone I hadn't seen in decades. An old friend. Also widowed. Also learning how to live with absence. We had tea, then dinner. Then long conversations about nothing in particular. And one day we stopped saying goodbye. She moved in with me 2 months later. She makes the tea now. Every morning before I come down. And for the first time in a long time. I don't wake up alone. Penny? She's thriving. She moved to the Netherlands with her partner. They visit every now and then, and when she smiles, it's without weight. She laughs like she means it. And Sally? She's still with him. She calls occasionally. Sends photos. Makes small talk. And I answer because I'm her mother. But it's not the same. I can't unlove her, but I can't forget either. I smile when she speaks, but part of me feels like I'm performing, pretending to be a mother to a girl I no longer understand. She hurt Penny. She hurt us. And worst of all, she never truly tried to make it right. When my husband died, he was still grieving her decisions. I think that's what breaks me most. And yet here I am. Still moving forward. Still waking up. Still boiling the kettle. This life isn't what I imagined. But it's still mine. Still full of small joys and warm tea and quiet, sacred peace. And some days that's enough.